There we go. How's it going? Had to, in one of the strangest delays I've yet had, I had to tighten the bolts on my chair. So that's pretty cool. If anyone's unaware of this, I do not have a gaming chair exactly, because I'm not exactly a gaming streamer. It's not really my thing. So I have a desk chair, and it works like a desk chair much more than it does like a gaming chair, and it's also very old. Very old. It is, I don't know, this probably was made in the 80s. I know I had exactly the same chair in the back of one of my classrooms in high school over 10 years ago now. I would always sit in that chair in my AP classes. It was kind of my chair. To my wonderful surprise, I found one in my old office. In my old office at my previous university when I was a GA. And eventually when I started moving out of that office, I traded my decent chair I had at home. It was a fairly nice leather chair, like leather desk chair kind of thing. And I traded it for this one. I brought that one to school, and I took this one home, just for nostalgia's sake, because I'd been using it there for years, and I had it recognized from back in high school, so that was my thing. So I kept this one. I traded my old one for it. Should not be a problem. Honestly, the old one I used to have was probably in better shape. It just doesn't fit my preferences because I'm not a big fan of sitting in leather. It's not really my thing. I don't like leather couches, leather chairs, leather seating in cars, any of that. This is a nice fabric kind of desk chair that, hence the squeaking you've probably... Wait a minute. Oh, hey, I think I fixed the squeaking. By tightening bolts, I managed to mostly fix the squeaking of the chair. Just look at that. Hey, Kevin. Good to see you. Anyway, that's good news. So that'll mean there's less squeakity squonking in the background. Because of the delay, I have to preemptively thank my wife for bringing me coffee in a little bit. She is in the process of making it and has promised to bring it in when it's done. So everybody give her some thanks for my being awake throughout the stream, because it's been it's I'm an addict, basically. I don't have a better excuse. Anyway, so with that, let's jump into the game, and we will, like I said today, as the thumbnail indicates, and as I've mentioned, my plan is, just like with Mass Effect, to do a bunch of side quests tonight. Probably won't even mess with the story mission. We've got the old man who we just met at the end of last week. Check out his house. We have the old gunslingers to track down and get stories from, and there's a few other ambient little things that we see if we can trigger to find a few other things going on. I know there is a serial killer around that we might be able to track down. That could be a lot of fun. So basically, we're just going to be doing some of that stuff, and I'm going to be chatting whatever comes to mind. Probably going to be talking some about kind of carrying on maybe some of the conversation from last time about information. Always a good one to think about. Stuff about ethical principles and that kind of thing, and then also maybe some one of the news items that recently came back to my attention. This kind of keeps popping up over and over. Is some of the changes that Wizards of the Coast is doing for the lore in Dungeons and Dragons, changing the descriptions of various races so that they aren't intrinsically evil and that kind of thing. So I'll talk about that and how I think it's kind of unnecessary, perhaps even silly. So we'll see about that. Anyway, so let's see where we are headed. Actually, first of all, let's take a look and see if we can find our various gunslingers. All right. So here's Black Belle. Maybelle Elizabeth Coulter, Grand Dame of the Gunslingers, the Dynamite Dowager. That sounds fun. Married 6 times to 6 gentlemen. Gamblers, robbers, and outlaws, everyone. Never divorced, dressing in her widow's weeds. Sole remaining survivor of the Coulter Totem gang, outlawed after robbery in Rhodes. Oh, well, right here. Private contract for her life or liberty. Large reward. Last reported sighting near Blue Water Marsh. Do not approach. Too dangerous for mere biographer. Well, we ain't no mere biographer. Let's go approach her. I'm going to save her for last for story reasons. Kindly says Starbucks only stays open until 9 now, so I don't get the nightly caffeine fix much anymore. Get an AeroPress. My absolute recommendation is one of these from AeroPress. It is similar to a French press, but inverted. It uses air pressure instead of pressing a filter through. It pumps the water and grounds through a fine filter, and basically makes espresso strength coffee that you can then turn into an Americano, which is usually what I have. Absolutely love it. Highly recommend. Kevin says, I try not to do caffeine afternoon. Gives me the nervous rigor. Yeah, I get it, but no. I get it, but no. Being a graduate student, I have a problem, which is nice. Oh, hey, it's a photograph from Albert Mason. Nice wolves. The ones that tried to eat us. How nice of them. Kylie says, true. I have caffeine at night sometimes against my better judgment, and just deal with the jitters later. I really only get jitters from very light roast coffee. Kylie says, Javalia has espresso shots that are so smooth you can find them on Amazon. Good idea. This guy's probably going to come second. Billy Midnight. Born Wilhelm Schnell. Or actually, this might be first, because I think he's right around here. Man who killed Rabbit Matthews. Little known about Midnight before killing. Thought to have been Matthews' rifle cleaner and stable boy. New Callahan, then. That's kind of pathetic. Overnight sensation, gained national celebrity. Speaking tours, then reenactments from St. Louis to Saint Denis, San Francisco, etc. Received death threats and suffered attempt on his life. Well, we're going to go do it again. Now recluse, save for regular sightings at Rhodes train station. Ask for him there. Well, we are within eyesight of Rhodes train station, so this guy's probably going to be first. So, Kylie S. was Rabbit's nickname Hopalong. I hope not. That'd be embarrassing. All right, Flaco Hernandez, this guy. He's pretty far off, so he's probably going to come a little ways down the road. Terror of the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are basically where we started the game, way up northwest. Wanted in 8 states. Runs with a gang of at least 10 stone-cold killers, is that right? Raids in Annisburg, Valentine, Strawberry, and surrounds. Gazette reports hideout west of Coulter, deep in the Grizzlies Mountains. Unlikely conversationalist, proceed with caution. He is, if I remember right, with the Del Lobos gang, who shows up much, much later in the game, and then back in the first game, which chronologically comes after this one. That was in 1908, I think. This is 1999. Emmett Granger, guy who cannot cover his belly button to save his life. Everett Killer Hog Fancier? I hope not. 1882 Beaver Brook Massacre reported sightings. 1886 Laidlow family disappearance, rumors of involvement. 1890 Chaparral killing suspect. 1894 Fosse Gang arrest witness. And then 1890 to 95 federal pardon. Why? Probably because he went witness. That's my guess. We said that. In relation to Hermione Granger, I hope not, but she was Muggle-born, and he seems to be a Muggle, so it's at least possible. Disturbingly, at present, keeper of hogs near Flatiron Lake. Interview refused. He doesn't really look like her, though. He really doesn't look much like her. Can I zoom? I can. Yeah, doesn't look much like her. Yeah, well, we'll see. And I think that's all 4 of them, yeah? Yeah, that's all 4 of them. So, let's go see about Billy Midnight. Because he is right here. Or at least, you know, maybe he'll be on the train that's right here. Yeah, that'll do us. Distant cousin twice removed, huh? Well, maybe. It'd still be a little bit disturbing, but, you know. Wonder if his hogs have warts. Well, we can go and check. Not that I'd want to get too close to check, but let's see.
Hey, you there. A quick word.
What can I do for you, sir?
There's an old gunslinger I'm looking for. Heard he comes through here. Name of Midnight? Billy?
Oh, that old soak? Yeah, he spends days on board these trains, but he's going nowhere but the gutter. I imagine you'll find him right in the next one through here. Either that or the next one. Try them both. Look in the bar card.
Yeah, I don't think his, well, I mean, we'll see, but I don't think his little farm is very magical in any way whatsoever, so, we'll see. Huh. Well, that's awfully, oh, come on. There we go. That's a bar car. Let's see. So I would guess I would guess neither warts nor mead, but let's see about Billy Midnight. He has a nice pistol.
Mr. Midnight?
Excuse me, I'm trying to drink.
Mr. Midnight, listen, this won't take a moment. I just want to talk with you about your old days as a shootist.
Get away from me!
Hey!
I didn't shoot him in his sleep!
No one's
I
saying
didn't shoot him
that.
in his sleep, and if I did, it was the only way!
Not a problem. I'm here about Jim Boy Calloway.
You probably did.
No one shot him yet.
I knew you'd come for me! Get away from me!
Damn it.
Mr. Midnight!
This isn't what I had intended. Excuse me. Sir? Can I just... I wasn't supposed to do that? Just need to find platform 9 3/4. Maybe if I restart the checkpoint this time, he will actually run away instead of getting stuck in the corner for whatever reason. I swear, this game was not nearly as glitchy the last time I played through it. Billy. Just go. I don't... Okay, this guy's very drunk, apparently. Okay, here we go. Alright, I get how drunk he is, but...
I knew you'd come for me! It weren't my fault! I knew!
Well, you don't know nothing, Mr. Midnight. I want to talk. Don't do something foolish.
You come for me! Come on!
Oh. Yeah, he's quick. Okay, he's real quick. Let's try this a little better. So he's gonna try and draw on us. Oh, jeez. The whole kneeling thing really got me. He shot me. He shot me now twice. Jesus. Okay, I need to cheat. I'm not gonna skip checkpoint. I hate that it lets you do that. That's nonsense. Jesus. Okay, is there... If there's got... Okay, there's no way to do this. I think I might have to use Deadeye. Still cheating. Oh! Okay. Yeah. Well, shoot. He sure did. Alright. Okay. priest. Alright, I can do this. It's mathematically possible. Okay. Look at that. Look at that. That is a gold Mauser. I love it. Yeah, for a drunk guy, I mean, these are legendary gunslingers of the Wild West. There we go. Let's go get that pig. Uh-oh, wait a minute. I'm out of bullets for this. I do not have any pistol ammo. Oh, no. Uh-oh. I don't have any pistol... Wait, what? What happened? Oh, I'm an idiot. I need to take a picture of him. That's right. Okay. Hopefully this resets me till after I shot him. Oh, no, no, no. No. Okay, well. Okay, well. There we go. Let's get us a nice picture. There we go. Okay, that's what I needed. My horse is way out of the way. Where's this taking me anyway? Oh, this is... What? How the hell am I going back to Rhodes? Oh, I'm not. I'm... Uh-oh. I better go before I'm, like... Ow. It's fine. I'm okay. I'm just bleeding everywhere. Anyway. No, let's, I don't actually think you practically can take a selfie with the camera. So, I apologize. But, I have to walk back. Because... I ain't got no horse. Now, actually, there's a place down here I want to go to, so, because there is, that's where that murderer is. I'm going to see if I can just find or maybe steal a horse. We'll see, at least temporarily. Or maybe we'll get in range of mine on the way there, and I can whistle for it, but probably not. Maybe I shouldn't do this with an empty gun, but whatever.
Hey there.
Fine morning,
You okay, boy?
Good boy. Look at that good boy. I wonder if I can pet it. Oh, I can pat it. That's a nice dog. Look at that nice dog. Alright. So, while I'm going, I'm just going to be running for a while. So, does anybody have any thoughts or knowledge of this this most recent of strange controversies surrounding Dungeons and Dragons? Not sure if anybody has heard about this. If you guys are familiar with what all's going on. Oh, gunshot. Interesting. I don't have a rifle, so this isn't going to go too well, but okay. What's this? 3 fellas shooting. Okay. Okay, well, I'm gonna just borrow one of these. One of these here. Yeah, that'll do. Unless you guys think I should keep it.
Good job.
Yeah, I did just post, so Kylie, you saw my post on Facebook. That's good. I did just post it not too long ago, so understandable if you didn't see it. Like I said, it was, there we go, just in case. Is that one, or can I actually, yeah, it's one. It's fine. Worth keeping. Not worth keeping, but worth carrying. Just because No, I want to loot them. Alright, well, let's see. Now, here's the thing. If I keep another horse, it means I have to replace one of my current horses. So, keep that in mind. Now, I can do that. There's nothing stopping me from selling one of my current horses and replacing it with this one. I can totally do that. But it will mean that because I can only keep 4 horses at a time in the stable. So that means if I don't have, because I don't have room for more. Well, it looks like a marshmallow. Could replace Arthur too. That's true. Could replace Arthur too. I'm not that attached to Arthur too, so that might be alright. I'm trying to find something down here, and it's right there. That's what I'm looking for. Because this is, if I recall, the victim of said serial killer. Ah, there it is. I don't know if you saw that.
That's a good girl.
Let's see. There's the buzzards. Behold! That is mighty disturbing. With a giant stick as well, too. Let's see. What can we find here? Well, that. Okay. A note in the dead man's mouth.
I don't know what you did to deserve this.
Interesting. Part of a map. Looks like me. Yeah, that actually is a good idea. So replacing Arthur 2 with Marshmallow. Marshmallow is definitely a good name for this horse. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to... So I have to collect all three? I think it's 3 pieces of this map. I'm going to go ahead and shoot down the corpse. So it's not quite so horrifying. And set it over fire. Wait, where'd my horse go? Uh-oh. Marshmallow. Oh no. I scared Marshmallow away. That's not good. Well, there goes that discussion. Yeah, so no more Marshmallow. Oh, hi, hon. Thank you very much. My coffee just was kindly delivered by my wonderful, amazing, perfect wife. Fantastic. Alright, well, let's walk back to Rhodes, I suppose. Ooh, that's awful. But yeah, okay, let's walk back to Rhodes. Oh, hey, Albert Mason's got a new thing over there, and I think it involves gators. That might be another thing we do tonight. We'll see. Yeah, well, let's make our way over there gradually, eventually, slowly. Have a nice brisk jog. Anyway, yeah, I'll see if I can find another nice... it was an Appaloosa, too, which are nice horses. I think it was an Appaloosa. What is this? Well, that's a deer, but what's this? Something worth having. See it in here? Nah, nothing. Okay. Oh, hey, a deer. a little outhouse. Oh, the snake. Okay, let's move on. So, where the hell am I? Another snake. I'm eventually also going to have to get get more ammunition for this new pistol of mine. Because I have now I have a new pistol which uses different ammo because it is a pistol, not a revolver. It uses different ammunition, and so I have a total of 8 rounds, which is much, not much. Oh. Are you serious? Hey. Wait, why did I do that? My horse is... Oh. No, my horse can hear me now. Good. Yeah, gator is amazing meat. I am a Floridian. I know this. What? I can't believe it. It was... So, this was a perfect quality deer, but using a pistol with a single clean shot to the head was apparently not a clean kill. Kylie says, yes, I had a gator po' boy with coleslaw. It was amazing. Ah, it sounds really good. I actually haven't... Of all the ways I've had alligator, I have not tried a po' boy. And I totally would. Usually something like what Kevin mentioned, gator nuggets. That's the simple, straightforward way of doing it. And I very much like it. It's very good. Blackened works as well. Blackened certainly works. You don't find that too quite as often, but it does work so long as you cook it enough that it tenderizes it a bit. Blackened seasoning helps with that as well. Come on. What horse do I have? I don't even remember who I'm calling. I'm just going towards that campsite while I hopefully call my horse to me. It's coming, right? Oh, good. It's totally not. I'm just gonna have to go over there. Anyway, yeah, I would go for a blackened. I would go for a blackened gator po' boy. In fact, that sounds, in fact, a little bit better even than fried. I think that would work well, especially with the coleslaw there. Yeah, that kind of thing would do. That kind of thing would really do it. Oh, a turkey. Neat. Let's find our horse. I have a pelt under my arm. Oh, it's stuck. Poor thing. Okay, I'm tired from running so much. Okay.
Okay, fella.
Yeah, blackened's great. It's just generally a fantastic sort of Cajun food, just in general. I mean, understandably, the Cajuns would be the ones who are particularly good at cooking such, first of all, such strange creatures, and then also such creatures which are notoriously common in Louisiana. Here in Florida, we tend to do more of the southern thing, so we the tradition, a little bit more traditional southern thing, especially like Florida country folks. So fried is more the trend around here. But honestly, I'll go for just about either. Gator is one of my preferred meats, and it does not count as meat technically. So Catholics need it on Fridays. Fun little fact. I learned that from Carla Broussard, a Cajun Catholic apologist. Oh, the blackened tenders at Popeyes, Kylie brings up. Those are very good. I'll give you that. Yeah. Although honestly, there are better things at Popeyes for me than I will always prefer. The chicken sandwich is actually really good. The spicy chicken sandwich. Welcome back, WizKid. Spicy chicken sandwich at Popeyes is actually really good. It is a toss-up whether I prefer it to Chick-fil-A or not. I refuse to take a side on this great battle. And I just choose to enjoy both because they're both phenomenal. That said, I also really, really extremely enjoy just any of the Popeyes, their spicy chicken, spicy fried chicken, like the any kind of like chicken pieces. The spicy marinade they do is just excellent. And then, of course, their fries. In my mind, even beat Checkers. And if you're from a part of the country that does not have Checkers and Rallies, I pity you, because their fries are, in my mind, contested only by Popeyes. It's a weird way of getting up here, but alright. These follows a little riverbed. Is that a possum? That's a fox.
Easy.
It's a fox. Man. Okay, well that didn't work. Okay, anyway. That was a possum.
Yeah.
Kylie says Checkers is too greasy. I get that. I can sympathize with that. I am a fan of Checkers fries. I do love them, but I can definitely see where you're coming from there. They are pretty extremely greasy. There we go. I need to clean this. WizKid says the only choice is the Lord's chicken, obviously. Listen, I know with the whole Chick-fil-A Lord's chicken thing. Yeah, I got it. But also, have you considered Pope Yes chicken? Big think. Big think. Big wrinkly brain thought. So they say. Alright, so let's see what's in here. This is that little house we were hiding behind in that shit show of a mission. Let's just grab a rifle just in case, you know, and maybe a shotgun also just in case. Maybe with some shells. Yeah. I don't have many rounds here. Do I? Wait. Is that... Oh, this is peppermint. Okay. Oh, no. Okay, no. I only have 8 rounds. I'm definitely not going to be using this for right now. Schofield. Oh, boy. Here we go. So, the battle between...
By order of Judge Meredith Holden in the courts of the state of Lemoyne, we do hereby grant repossession of this property and all items herein to the Bank of Roads. M. Holden, Judge Holden. Henrietta Blackley, clerk. November 18th, 1895.
It was 4 years ago. Okay, can we get in? I suppose we can just go in the back. Oh yeah, see? It's burnt down. That's where we were hiding. Let's see.
Ledger, watch, pistol.
A bottle. Like I said, I am enough of a fan of both Popeyes and Chick-fil-A to not willingly take a side either way. You know, I like both of them a lot. The only thing is that I happen to have a
Thanks indeed for your talk to our Sunday school class. Thought you might like this drawing young Josh did of you. He wants to grow up to be just like you. Sam.
Aw. Man, that's cute. WizKid, yes, you do come back here. This is actually for a quest, even.
June 7th, 1855. Dear Sir, please accept this likeness of your family as a small token of appreciation for your assistance in the recovery of my property. Like your old pa, you're a cunning old dog and a credit to this community. Yours, Colonel Joshua Nixon, the Ascension Plantation.
Aw. That's, So yeah, this was the very, very drunk, distraught old man down in Rhodes who told us to go and collect some things from his old house that was foreclosed on.
April 2nd, 1870. Dear Mr. Thompson, I'm afraid there's no more work for you down here at the plantation. I'm grateful for the help you've given us, and the help your pappy and your pappy's pappy gave us before you. These are trying times for all of us. You are in our thoughts and prayers. Yours truly, Colonel J. Nixon, the Ascension Plantation.
Well, you know there were some rough times around here. Certainly this can't be anything sketchy going on. WizKid remembers now. Broken watch.
That's the old watch. Now the ledger and the pistol.
Premium cigarettes. It's got a card. Let's see. Oh, nice. Let's put it away. Behold, Kylie of Hamaker couldst not. That cannot be right. Can't complain. There we go. Can't complain regarding the chicken which upon the grill did lay. Indeed. Yeah. I'm just gonna go with given that we're out west. I'm gonna go with Caint. Nothing. Okay. Another letter.
Dear Jeremiah, there ain't nothing here any value. I wouldn't give you a nickel for it. Come by for a sup of whiskey anytime. Bill. Yes. I was sorry to hear of Betsy's passing. Things is easier up there for sure.
Things not going too well for Jeremiah.
Okay. What is all this old crap?
Can't go upstairs. What's this?
Pa, God damn it. Told you to stay away from the boy. He don't want this. Heck, none of us want nothing to do with you. Rance.
Oh. Doesn't want the nice little dog. That's sad. What this?
A trap door, huh?
Okay. I mean, not like that
What
wasn't
you doing
obvious.
here? We found this place first.
hell kind of a-
Easy.
It's a
Just
matchlock?
looking around for some things. That old revolver of yours?
Finders keepers.
It's not a revolver.
Ah, son of a bitch!
Oh, God damn it! Come on, Dan!
Where are you going? Come on! Son of
Why? Why would I do
a
that?
bitch!
And not this?
You bastard!
Okay. Where's my hat? Yeah, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Life lessons, mate. Great life lessons there. You will literally lose your head. Thompson's pistol, for what it's worth. That is definitely not a revolver. That is... Oh, no, that's a percussion cap. It looks like a percussion cap. Okay, so old, but
No, that'll be the
not
pistol.
extremely.
Just the ledger now.
And whatever this idiot had on him. Is it really Kunst, Kevin? Is that really the archaic second-person singular? I know there was an archaic second-person singular, and it bothers me to no end that modern English dropped the second-person singular in general, dropped the thou, but you know, whatever. I didn't think it was Kudst. Kudst. Kudst? Oh. Oh, well. This changes some things, maybe. Oh, I don't even need a lantern. Light in here. Huh. Wow. A diary. Let's see.
Well, that's that. I was somewhere near Rhodes when they caught me. Till the day I die, I ain't gonna forget the sound of that dog barking in my heels. But I don't suppose that day gonna be far off yet. It was 50 lashings yesterday and 50 more to come. I don't think I can take any more. Man said he was doing his job. Funny kind of employment if you ask me, but I suppose you ain't. Light's fading, so that's it for now. I do hope I live to see the end of this war and justice win out. Ugh. June 64.
God.
Well, it certainly does put a new spin on some things. As to why he wasn't getting any work anymore.
This your ledger? A list of slaves?
Rewards. January 15th, Betsy, $17. January 18th, Louise, $12. May 18th, Wilfred, $18. May 24th, Minnie and Child, $20.
Well, that does put a different spin on things. In any case, so, in case you're not following along here, in case you're not catching on, he was a slave catcher. And there is a reason that he, work dried up for him in the late 60s. And it's there weren't no more slaves to be catching. WizKid says, like I said, this whole story is fucked up and sad for everyone involved. Absolutely. I mean, the guy was a slave catcher. He's not exactly a sympathetic character, But at the same time, he is still, a sad, pathetic old man who's lost everything he ever knew. So, there's some sympathy to be had there, even if he's not, professionally or even personally sympathetic. Although we don't know personally. I mean, we'll see. Maybe he's moved on. Maybe he has wanted to change things, that kind of thing. Maybe. How about an apple?
You okay, boy?
How about an apple, Becky? Yeah, there you go.
Forgot about us. Just when they needed us, they threw us away like shit on their boots. Times wasn't perfect. I ain't saying that.
I'm going to assume that this was his regiment or something similar.
It's all going to hell. Rack and
Oh, man.
oh man, you show some respect. I was respected once. I had a profession.
You asked me to get you something.
There's no bringing back what I want. I want my job, my pride, the respect accorded to a gentleman.
What about this old crap? Huh?
My things. Don't you understand? Those bastards have changed everything. I was a good worker. I took pride in my work. They took it away. Pissed on my legacy.
Old man, some jobs ain't for saving. And some legacies?
Oh,
They are for pissing
What
off.
are you doing? That's my history. Ah! God. Damn you! Damn you! I still exist. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, WizKid, I think, gets it right. To me, it kind of encapsulates everything about the South that's tragic. Yeah, because you have the folks who are like him, clinging on to a dark and, frankly, evil past. Because there is a lot of bad in that past, right? There's a lot that obviously ought not to have happened. The whole clinging to the legacy of slavery thing is nasty. That is not a good or pleasant thing. But at the same time, it's the fact that so many people in both the South and in the North are so willing to, I guess, throw away the people who were part of that legacy, whether they're remorseful or not, it leads to a lot of this kind of human tragedy, a lot of resentment, a lot of carried through animosity, and all that kind of stuff. I think this quest really puts on display. Puts on display really well. There was a I'm trying to think of what it was. There's something I was reading recently that talked about this, and it had to do with the controversy of the Confederate statues and all that being torn down, and the sort of messaging of that among both sides. What's this guy doing?
Hey there, partner. Hello.
Walking around with a gun. Okay, that's normal. Speaking to the South. But yeah, it's kind of it kind of typifies that same point.
I go blink before I shoot you. Hurry up in there. Let's get out of here before the cavalry comes.
Well, not the cavalry, but I am going to shoot you.
Run now!
Get the heck away from here!
The Lone Raiders gonna stomp you out!
Oh, it's the Lemoyne Raiders, as I thought. And where are you guys? Was that one of them? I hope that was one of them.
Cooperated, asshole!
I better go before those witnesses say anything. But it's okay, I stopped the train robbery, it's fine. Let's get out of here. I'm sure they'll forgive the mess of bodies.
Yep.
Hope this doesn't catch me a bounty. Be inconvenient. More than I thought. This. Alright. WizKid says this is the true legacy of slavery that persists to this day. What do you mean? The kind of memory of it, this this kind of legacy that lives in people who hold on to that legacy, or what exactly are you talking about? I'm not sure. Not sure what you mean. I mean, I will say though, a lot of the irony, and if I can figure out what it was, I'll put a link to it in the description when we're done with the stream. I'll see if I can figure out what it was that I was seeing. I think I was listening to it. Might have been a podcast or something. Not sure. But we'll see. If I can find it, I'll put it up there. But it was about the I don't know, the importance of kind of historic memory, and it was comparing a lot to iconoclasm, and then also to things like Damnatio Memoriae in ancient Rome. If you're not familiar with what that was, it was when faces were stricken from statues of people who were shamed in the past, some who'd brought shame to their legacy or their memory, usually emperors, mad emperors and such. And it's a matter of, in part, it's a matter of, I don't know, call it, like, public memory and also public art. And because we don't really have public art in America other than kind of civic religion kind of stuff. And so without that, we just kind of have, we only really have private art. Art and stuff that is just kind of individuated and is for a particular person for a particular purpose. It doesn't serve a public function, doesn't serve public beauty, unless you count the absurdities of modern statuary that you find, which is obviously quite absurd. What's this?
Hey, partner.
Okay. Kevin says, kill any more of those dudes, you'll practically be a saint. Yeah, you would think, but no, everybody just gets pissed at you. What's this?
Easy now.
Oh, this is Emmett Granger. Okay. Oh, look, a jumping spider. There's a jumping spider on the wall. It's fine. They eat other insects that I don't like, that I like even less.
Sorriest looking son of a bitch ever I saw.
Okay, fine. I'll just, Oh, that's right, I needed to get to a gunsmith. Yeah, gun shop. Before I talk to this guy, WizKid says, I guess I mean the cultural impact of the Confederacy on the South as a whole, and how it's seen as the same time pitiable and despicable. Yeah, I think actually that's a good way of putting it.
Hey, you.
What do you want?
Howdy. You Granger?
That's my name. And my occupation, too, if you hadn't noticed.
Weren't always like that, though, were. Used to be a quick draw guy. You knew Jim Boy Calloway?
Used to be's correct. Them days are long over. And who might you be?
Don't matter. I need you to tell me about Jim Boy. Just a quote for a book.
A book about Jim Boy? Well, shit. I can't talk to you now. Look at me. I'm knee-deep in hog crap.
Well, don't mind me. We can talk while you work.
I ain't talking and shoveling. Besides, a young man like you could get it done in half the time.
I don't know about that.
What's to know? You interested in the old days? You shoveled this shit, I tell you some stories. You
Great.
keep your hands clean, I don't give you squat.
God damn it. These better be some stories.
Oh, they are.
Great.
Pick up
My
the
nice
fork and
clothes,
get to
too.
work. Or get out of here and stop wasting my time.
I'm gonna do this for you, but I don't like it.
Jim Boy weren't nothing, you know. Me? I killed men, women, and children, too. Animals. I even killed rocks. And I killed them good.
Okay, crazy person.
I shot folks, stabbed folks, skinned folks. I scalped some. Boy, they scream when you scalp them.
Hey, let me work.
Don't know what's got into these hogs, but I know what's coming out of them. I bash folks, butcher folks.
I burn folks alive. Bury folks alive. One time,
Hey, I get it, all right? You're mean. What about Calloway?
You have no idea, girlie. Why, effeminate type like you, I'd probably have chopped your head off, stuffed you, and eaten you like a sausage.
Nightcap.
No doubt.
Now it's clean enough to eat off.
I guess I'm done.
Get that barrel to the shit pile, and I suppose you is.
All right.
No shortage of shit round here. Comes from hungry hogs and no hands.
Hell, that stinks. Whew. Okay, I cleaned up your mess. Go on, tell me about Calloway.
I said I'd tell you stories. I didn't say they'd be about him.
Don't trifle with me, old man. You knew him. Just give me something, anything.
You making a book, you should make it about me.
They're just words, is all. Give me something to say and I'll leave you alone. You owe me that.
Hey, you be careful. Killer like me, it don't take much to end up on the end of my knife. One time...
You know what? I don't think you were anything at all. Just a crazy old man.
I ain't a killer? Well, you'd ought to be hog feed. I hadn't made a deal with the Federals, got this far.
This is your last chance, Mr. Granger. Give me a quote for the book.
Hey, you don't hit no man of peace, no government witness.
Calloway said you was full of piss, but he didn't tell me the half of it.
I'm itching to drop you, girlie. Only you ain't worth my time. I got too much to lose.
Too much to lose? Well, seeing as I cleaned up this pigsty, I figure I'm in my rights to wreck it. Let's see.
You don't want to do that? You walk away right now.
Well. All I wanted was a quote.
You don't know who you're trifling with. That's my stick!
I got an idea.
You walk away right now.
Let's just put a candle right here.
There you go.
No. No. No! You did not! No!
You just took yourself a regular shit shower, Mr. Granger. Boy, that's real nasty.
You earned yourself a killing. And I'm gonna enjoy it now. Draw! It's gonna be the last thing you do.
Oof, right in the neck. Alright, let's take his gun. If I can. There it is. Jesus, come on. There. Granger's revolver. Let's see. Yeah. Nice inlays. Not bad. Pretty. Anyway. Alright, let's take our picture in the terrible lighting of basically midnight and get out of here. Alright, let's see. Ooh. Not a good view. That's fine though. What's he got? Alright. Let's break our lock here. I got a thing for that. Nice. Still eventually need a pistol. Or pistol ammo. Carbine repeater? I think I have one of these. Yeah, I do. Yeah, oh well. Anything of use in here worth taking? Got what appears to be a Bible on the nightstand. Wow. Alright, so while we're once we're done with him, let's catch up on the chat. Let's see. So, where was I? Back up to
Go, boy.
WizKid said something along the lines of, my ma had, I think this is the last thing I saw, so let's head up towards, right there, on the way to Flaco Hernandez. Okay. Move right along. I'm gonna go into, excuse me, I'm gonna go into cinematic for a bit while I read some chat. Nice, pretty cinematic mode. Alright, so WizKid said something along the lines of, so my mom had this thing about the glory of the defeated army. And how it's really really one of the few conflicts where the defeated party was, for a time, allowed to have their heroes, not all of whom had slaves. Yes? Kind of. The heroes of the Civil War, the Southern heroes of the Civil War, really became sort of lauded in the First World War around that time, particularly because most soldiers came from the South at the time. What? What was that? Oh, okay. Thought that was somebody. So yeah, that's partially true. We did have a lot more sort of respect for sort of Confederate heroes than we have for other defeated enemies, but at the same time, a lot of it came later, and it was more pragmatic. It was because the nation, the newly united nation, had a need for... Oh, hey, more. Whoa. Hold on. Let's, actually, first of all, let's do this. And that.
Move it.
Move it!
Is that it? I think that's it. Anybody else coming back for me? Nah, good. Alright, let's go see if anybody wants to thank us. No, apparently not. Oh, wow, everyone's dead. Okay. That's great. Oh, there's an O'Driscoll. Even better. Glad to shoot them in the hearts. Another one. So that was a sort of a weird case, right, where part of the sort of lauding of the Confederate heroes happened way after the fact, and that was kind of strange by historical standards, especially. You need. You know what? Just an oat cake. It's fine. Nice little oat cake. See if there's anything worth stealing on this train while we're here.
There we go.
So, Kevin then said, I'm still catching up here. Kevin then said, to an extent, the victors control the narrative. While the truth is the sin of the South, the sin of slavery, is shameful, might be that a good portion of the Confederates had motivations not tied to slavery. Absolutely. A lot of it really was motivated by leave me the hell aloneness, which is the most common cause of revolutionaries. Right? There are a lot of people who just want to be left alone, and that's also really a big part of Southern culture. What in the world is happening? It's a big part of Southern culture, especially when they're sort of see themselves as facing down these sort of northern, to use a more modern term, cultural imperialists. Right? People who want to see their culture be the dominant culture in not just the nation, but we wind up seeing later on the world. And that becomes a big sort of threat to the identity of the South, more than just a more than just a military matter. It really does become a matter of cultural pride, and it also just becomes a political matter of wanting to be left alone, wanting to be free, that sort of thing. Brush our horse as we read
How
the
you
chat.
doing, boy?
Is it too cold? Oh, yeah, it is. Jeez. Let's switch to the cold weather thing. Yeah, that's weird. All right, so continuing on. So yeah, I think that there were motivations other than slavery, right? Obviously, for a lot of people. WizKid says it's similar to Rommel in World War II. He was a great general. Patton read his book. He had a love for and for his people, but he was on the wrong side of the conflict. People villainize him despite the fact that he was no Nazi and didn't like Hitler at all. He was just doing his duty. Yeah, I think so. I don't know enough about Rommel to actually pass any kind of historical moral judgment. Not really at all. I do know that he was a spectacular general. He was a brilliant tactician and all that. But beyond that, I don't really know much. Look on my works. Okay. Another buzzard. And look, a dead buzzard. Let's shoot this one down too. Hey Doris, welcome. Good to hear from somebody new. There's a blood trail heading up here, so... Is there... Oh, Jesus, what is that? I believe there's probably... Thought there'd be a clue around here. There was a clue around here somewhere. Maybe not. Oh, there. Interesting. Okay. I see it. Anyway, so yeah, welcome, Doris. Good to see you.
Through the
Good to
eye,
hear from you.
too.
Ooh. It's...
Ooh. Jeez. Poor bastard.
More of this map. You find part of the puzzle. Alright, well, it's a serial killer leaving us hints. Probably to find him. Being creepy and sketchy and horrifyingly disturbing, that's always fun. Let's head up to Valentine. Let's get a room for till morning, or at least maybe even till midday. Can get some outfits because I forgot my summer clothes somehow. And then continue our gunslinger quest. Possibly continue that other, the serial killer thing. I forget exactly where that third thing is. But...
Hello.
I hope you'll be a bit friendlier now.
I ain't looking for trouble, I assure you.
Okay. And what? Valentine's right up here, so I'm just gonna go across the grass. Yeah. WizKid says the War of Northern Aggression really says it all. Yeah, that is a... I mean, that's obviously a biased name. That's very much a... what the South Res Again folks call it. But there's something to that, right? That is certainly how they saw it at the time. And that's why a lot of Southerners, especially Southerners who were not slave owners, which was the vast majority of them, why they fought this war. They didn't see it as, defending slavery. They saw it as defending their country again, or their states, right? Their communities, their people from... Hello? Arthur, you wanna... There we go. Their people, they saw themselves as defending their people from a kind of centralizing power, a kind of foreign authority. Foreign not in the foreign nation sense, but foreign to their own community, you know?
I'd like a room, please.
Room's all yours. Head on up.
So let's get up there. Let's take a rest. Let's change our clothes. WizKid says, I like how Firefly really touched on this fact that slavery aside, the Confederacy
follow
really
this
did
ass for
have...
days, huh?
That's... okay. Are you turning... yeah, no, you're turning left. Alright, that's good.
I'm trying to concentrate. Oh, I hear you.
I'm gonna... that's... alright, that's wrong. Alright. Yeah, let's do this. Oh yeah, I forgot I've got a sheriff's badge. That's so absurd. Why would he... oh my gosh. I'm gonna keep the Grizzlies Outlaw. One of these new ones I just got. Is it the Gambler? Or the Heartlands? The Chevalier? Let's put this one on our horse. And then get out of here. Not get out, but let's sleep. Till night, and that'll get us out into the Grizzlies by morning. That'll be fine. We actually could use a long rest for Arthur. So anyway, WizKid says, I love how Firefly really touched on the fact that, slavery aside, the Confederacy really did have a good argument. It's just sad that it was to defend such a terrible institution. Yeah, very much so. I mean, there's a lot of secessionist types, or at least people who more theoretically and less culturally will defend secession. Tom Woods especially is brilliant on this subject. Really, will often point out that the first secessionists were not Southerners. It was New Englanders. It was people like people in Vermont, New Hampshire, when they were being oppressed by a federal authority with respect to things like. Wait a minute, I have to wait.
Hello, mister.
Dang it. I slept too much already, so...
How do you do?
I need to wait until the gun shop opens. What's going on?
Howdy, sir.
Mister! Yeah, you! Come over here!
What's
I'm
this?
in a real bind. This feller, he's in a bad way. You gotta help me. I'll pay you.
Okay, calm down. Where is he?
He's inside. Upstairs. Come with me. I'll show you.
Yeah, okay. You gonna,
I must look like an easy target.
Alright, I guess I'll head in. Maybe she'll follow me. Okay, follow the stranger. Where's she going? You gonna move? Come on. What's going on here? Okay, she's going up. Okay, back there. Alright, there we go. So, on that same note, Kevin says there was a sort of European sensibility in those days that saw localities as ones of first allegiance, kind of close to subsidiarity. Absolutely, especially in the South. And I mean, you still have that, right? That's still a common sentiment among more, particularly more rural folks, but also Southern people. And generally, these days it's more of an American sentiment than it is a European one. Am I supposed to just go in here or what? Like, ma'am, where to? But yeah, very much. It's very much an element of subsidiarity. WizKid says, right, they saw it like the Second American Revolution in a lot of ways. And again, it always irritates me that leftists in particular like to act like all Southerners had slaves. Yeah, not in the least, right? Slave owners were a tiny minority of the population at any time. Particularly at the time of the Civil War, it was not exactly... most people did not have slaves because most people, frankly, couldn't afford slaves. And, in fact, there were even, committed abolitionists in the South. There were quite a few of them. A lot of the abolitionist movement came from the South. Obviously not all of it, but... She's supposed to be leading me right here, because I can just go.
Hey there.
Hi. Can I just...
Hi there.
I think if I walk far enough away, she'll actually move. I don't know what's with the weird glitchiness tonight. Yeah, Kevin says modern Europe is a hive. 100%. Oh, that's not what I meant. No, that's definitely not what I meant to do. No! Did I... Darn it. Okay, well... Okay, I guess she doesn't get help.
You holding up okay?
I accidentally punched her. Hive of scum and villainy. Yeah, I'd give you that. Not exactly where I was going with the metaphor, but the metaphor certainly applies. Wait until morning. Yeah, definitely applies. And honestly, it's interesting that Europe has moved in quite the opposite direction, in the more centralized direction.
You must be rich in those bounties by now, son.
Compared to America, which has moved toward sort of away from centralization. Let's take this and midnight pistol. There we go. And head into the gun shop. WizKid says abolish the EU. I won't disagree even a little bit.
Do come in. What
Let's
can I do for you?
Okay. Sheffield. Do I need to clean it? No.
You keep treating that like your own child, all right? Good on you.
What about pistols? Oh, it's because I can't customize it. I need to browse the cat. I need to buy.
So how'd that sniper
pistol
rifle
cartridges.
worked out for you?
Yeah, did the job.
Hunting trip?
It's absurd.
You could call it that.
Okay, I won't ask.
All right. I need those. Might need those. And I might need those. Okay. Got to do a lot of customizing, split pointing, but that will do it. I'm gonna go sit in the sit on the porch and chop up my
Thanks, partner.
chop up my ammo. There. Let's finish those up.
Morning to you. Things going okay?
All right. Anyway,
Feeling pretty heavy.
but yeah, there is this again. I mean, we always wind up talking. We kind of always wind up talking about this in when we're playing Red Dead. But it's this tension between the centralizing and the decentralizing impulses, because we have this margin in the center, which are always in a kind of conflict beneath the surface. It's not a conflict which is usually actual civil war. But it's the kind of center that wants to spread itself out, and then the margin that wants to keep itself separate. And that's really the kind of conflict we see in the Civil War. It's the kind of conflict we see here in Red Dead. It's the kind of conflict we see in Firefly that you mentioned. It's the Western story, and in a large part, it's the American story. It's this needing and wanting to kind of keep ourselves, instead of us becoming too big, you know? So I think that is a really big it's a big difference in how we how different people interact in that sense, right? So it's a cultural difference between people who are more urban versus more rural, more cosmopolitan versus more local.
Papers here. Get your papers right here.
And I think it is really just a big, it's a huge cultural difference, you know. So yeah, it's worth considering these differences as being deeper than any particular little issue. Like, whether that is, you know, interstate trade restrictions like it was for New England, or slavery like it largely was for the South. Although also industrial capacity and stuff like that also played a role, secondary role, obviously. But yeah, I think that was a big difference, and we also see the we see this kind of shaking itself out today, where we have the ironically enough the people on the same side, the kind of centralizing impulse are ironically the kind of the forces of chaos, if you want, or at least the people who are causing chaos. Whereas the decentralizing impulse are people who are just like telling people to shut up, and not wanting to tear down Confederate statues, or any statues really.
Read all about it.
Oh, hey, the Bloodbath of Valentine. That was my fault, particularly. WizKid says, it's fascinating to me because it's always on the threat of violence, but these things break out. I don't have a problem with centralization when it isn't compelled, but it always is. I don't think you can quite say that. Even if centralization isn't compelled, it can still be kind of a cultural overreach, even if it isn't strictly an aggression. Right? There's still the impulse to kind of make others like us, and this is actually telling. For example, if I didn't tell you I was from Florida, you'd have a hard time telling based on my dialect, just based on how I talk. I don't really talk like any particular. I don't know, anything particularly regional, right? I'm not clearly New Englander, I'm not clearly a Southerner, I'm not clearly a Midwesterner, I'm not clearly a West Coaster, whatever you want to call that, right? I just kind of have this kind of Trans-American dialect, and Trans-American accent, and that's in part it's because I've got parents from New England and from the Midwest. But at the same time, I also grew up watching television, which mostly is produced in California, but it's also this Trans-American dialect. So that influenced in large part how I talk. Florida is very much like this, because Florida has people from about everywhere. Internation? I'll take your word for it that that's what it's called. I'm playing off of Transatlantic, because that was the old school... The old school talking like this, see? And that was Transatlantic. That was it was quite literally an artificial dialect. It was the kind of thing where people were specifically trained to talk like this. And the reason for it was neither particularly American nor particularly English, hence transatlantic, so it would appeal to people on both sides of the Atlantic. Neat. But that's very different. It's very similar to the current standard broadly American, but not anything in particular dialect, you know? Which is what Floridians tend to do, unless they're out in the country or unless they're in a very particular urban environment. Whether that's a highly Latin community in something like Miami, or if that's a very southern community you find up north, ironically, because Florida. This isn't the right way. This isn't the right way at all. I need to go back the other way. Yeah, WizKid says, true, there's this psychological impulse to both centralize and scatter, and each have their own distinct advantages and disadvantages that are better and worse and different things we want. We need balance. Yeah, I agree. It's balancing in the archetypes that play out time and again in the physical world. Yeah, we actually, I think we do genuinely need both. We need the urban and the rural. We need the center and the margin, and both they need to coexist. They're symbiotes. They're not. One isn't parasitic on the other. They have to, by necessity, work together. Actually, I want to go here, I think, first. Then I can head up north, because I think that is where the last murder victim is, if I remember correctly. Yeah, and again, I've mentioned him before, but Jonathan Pajot, the symbologist, talks about this in particular, that the center without the margin becomes tyrannical, and the margin without the center descends into chaos. It's... Oh, are they done? Oh, cool. Let's go see. Oh, maybe they're done.
Well, hey there. What do you think? Turned out pretty nice, didn't it?
It sure
Time
did.
for me to move on, though. Just sold it to a farmer moving up here from the south.
Good for you. So can I have my money now?
Of course, not a problem.
WizKid says, well, certain cities certainly always feel like parasites, but I know what you mean. We need both, otherwise we wouldn't have them to begin with. I mean, yeah, cities are the kind of concentration of people. And also the concentration of culture, the concentration of production, all of that.
As promised, and with interest.
Which... Now, maybe we don't need the same kinds of dense population density that we have today, given the shift towards digital, if you will. Right? We can produce the same effects at a less dense population centers. We can have cities that spread out more. We can have more smaller communities. Maybe that's a possibility, and maybe that's something that my fellow ruralites and I ought to maybe strive for. But at the same time, the great creations of our urban culture have their own merit to them. And I wouldn't say they're I certainly wouldn't say they're parasitic. They are like the hub of the natural hub of the hub of the wheel, right? Like Evan said, of commerce, of whatever else. Is it up here? This looks like it, but I don't think it is. I know it's on a rock like this. But yeah, they have to work together. The cultural margin and cultural center, if they don't both exist, if they're truly in conflict, that's how you know that the society that they are a part of is breaking down. If the two pull themselves apart from each other too much, then there is no society anymore. If there's nothing cohering them together. And obviously that winds up being a problem, because that's when you wind up with conflict, like armed conflict, like war kind of conflict, civil war, in fact, if you will. WizKid says exactly. Power by its nature collects, and it always does so in large trade hubs, almost by design. Not almost by design. That's literally by design. In a lot of cases, cities are power centers. Whether you mean that in the kind of analogical sense of like financial power, or maybe you mean that very, very literally in terms of political power. Right? Yeah, political and even military power converges around cities, because of course it does, because it's easier to organize things when society is, first of all, so thoroughly connected, and also to a greater extent than you find in rural areas, rootless. And so people are more dedicated to the hustle and bustle of the big city than they are to their particular home and their home soil, you know? And that means that people are more apt to be controlled. And that means people are more apt to serve the powers that be, if you will, right? So, yeah, the urban centers are always going to be the centers of not only commerce, but political power and control. All right, it's got to be around here somewhere, I think, unless it's up like this way. Yeah, I know it's south of Wallace Station. I know that. That's what I wrote down. Is it up there? Oh, it might be up there. Might be up there. It's one of these big rock formations. I know that. I remember this from last time. I did find this one my last playthrough. Nah, it's not that one. It's one of these big rock formations south of Wallace Station, in this little area generally. be over here. I'm looking for the victim of a serial killer. I will find it. Yes. Hold on, this bluff. But yeah, that's the hell?
Hey there, fella.
What's this? I hear bugs. I feel like I'm going too far south. I don't think it's this far out. If anybody wants to look it up for me, if anybody wants to look it up for me, feel free, and then let me know if I'm getting close. Remember, I'm not a gaming channel, therefore I'm not good at the gaming part of the game streams. More good at the talking part, I think. But anyway, oh wait, I think this is it. Yeah, buzzards.
Whoa, easy.
Yep. There we go. And coyotes, too. How about a buzzard? Okay. Let's skin these buzzards first, yeah? Pluck them, not skin them. You know what I mean? Vultures, whatever. Hey, Blake, welcome. Welcome. We are hunting a serial killer and talking about urban and rural and center and margin and how these relate to one another in cultural context. It's actually funny. I mentioned being rootless, the kind of very urbanite types being rootless. So somebody talking about how it was funny the Chaz, or I guess Chad, whatever it is, Chaz at some point. Oh, look at that. Can. Well, that's the whole thing. So maybe we can put it together now. Let's, cut this, shall we? Nope, I can't do that. I have to shoot it. I have a knife, but I have to shoot the rope. That was silly. Anyway, why not? Let's try to put the pieces of the map together. Treasure maps? No. Notes? Nope. Letters? Nope. Great cards? Oh, wait. My bad. Oops, not that. No, not that. Anyway. So WizKid says it's ruthlessness that people like me resent so much, the superiority complex that makes me just want to glass them. I take it you mean cities. I don't know if I want to glass cities, I just don't want to be in one. I get that people want to, and I get the appeal for some people. Alright, so we need to go to this little shack. There's a combination on the lock, 63432, and it's across a bridge that I think is near Valentine. It's relatively close by. Can you find me? Well, maybe we can. But yeah, I do agree. Cities do tend to have this, call it an imperialistic impulse. You know, they want to, and not just cities particularly, but the kind of the cosmopolitan mentality. And I mentioned rootlessness as being kind of part of it. That somebody, I think it was in the same. Oh, hey, there's the blood trail. That's where he was killed. I think it was the same interview or podcast or whatever it was that I was talking about earlier. I was talking about how making some fun of the Chaz, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone over in Seattle. Their garden where they just put down potting soil and put put potted plants on top of the soil in the pots and everything. And the ironic part that whoever this was, I forget, pointed out was that it's like people who think like this don't even realize that things need roots because they are themselves rootless. They don't have roots, so they don't think of things as needing roots. I thought that was clever. It was a kind of, I mean, I don't know if that's, you know, an actual connection there. I don't know if there's actually some real significance there. But it's a neat observation anyway. If nothing else, it's a very clever observation.
Yeah.
Let's head up into the mountains.
You okay, boy?
Oh. Oops. I killed an elk. I didn't mean to do that.
Easy, boy.
Good job, Peppermint. You murdered an elk. Ran it down. Nicely done. Another one. Dodged that one. That's good.
There, boy. Yep.
Anyway. But yeah, so that is, I think that is, that always winds up being relevant when we're playing this game. What in the world? Wolves. Okay, a lot of wolves. That's great. I don't like this.
Whoa, whoa.
It's fine.
Easy.
They're not. They won't chase too far. Alright, let's keep going. They won't chase us too far.
Yeah, you all right there, boy?
Okay, yeah, looks like they gave up the chase. So Kevin says, it's terribly ironic with regard to how they view the production of wealth and goods. They, I take it, you mean Chaz. Oh yeah, because WizKid said before that, I didn't see this. These morons have no idea how to take care of themselves, and so they make places like Chaz based solely on ideology with no thought of practicality. It's no wonder it goes to shit so fast. This place should also look familiar. We were here. We fought a bunch of O'Driscolls here. Get back up the mountain. But yeah, very much so. And I keep saying that they broke the world speed record of socialism leading to starvation. Usually it at least takes years, not mere minutes. But they got from socialism to starving in a day or two. So, nicely done, guys. Way to ruin any chance of being taken seriously. WizKid says, yeah, namely, they fundamentally cannot grasp what wealth production actually is. Yeah, very much so. This is the same mentality that I see this in people who are very, very pro-lockdown, pro-shutdown. Especially a while ago, when there was a lot of major talk about stimulus checks and that sort of thing. Which I get that is a stopgap measure. That if the state's going to do something, that is something that it can do. That kind of thing. Fine. Okay. Fair enough.
Oh Jesus! Oh Jesus!
Oh. That's interesting.
I won't down and no. Oh, you there! Please help me! Down out!
Away from me!
That'll do it. Okay.
Oh, thank God! That animal was a goddamn menace. You saved me, partner. Woo! I was almost a meal there.
Good luck to you. Watch out for yellow eyes.
I will, friend. I will.
This is not going to be a high-quality pelt.
Just hold
After
on
having
there, boy.
danced a horse on it. There's no way. Anyway, so what I was saying was my point about lockdown stimulus and that sort of thing. It was a common among at least a certain group of people, extremely left-leaning, like Bernie Sanders types. Oh, not pick up. I don't want to do that. Come on. I don't want it. I just want to scan it. There we go. Particularly, left-leaning Bernie Sanders types. When I would explain that the people who were upset about the lockdown were not upset about haircuts, that they were upset about not being able to, work, and that this was going to have a long-term impact. Right, this is going to have a long-term economic impact, and right, so in the long term, this was going to be extremely bad, which it still may be. We don't know what the long-term consequences are yet. Thankfully, I'm in Florida, and it could have been a lot worse here. I'm aware of cases going up extremely high, but that also comes back to the urban versus rural thing. I'm in a county with less than 200 cases total, whereas there were thousands more in just yesterday in Tampa and Miami and Orlando. Because that's how that works. Anyway, sidetrack. My point is, the response to, people who are saying, well, we are losing our livelihoods. I want to be able to feed my family, is just that, well, the government should be sending out checks. Should be sending out weekly checks for, $1,200 or whatever it was. That should be every week until this crisis is over. And they don't realize at all. Kevin, yes, I'm very glad I'm not in Illinois. I'm even more glad I'm not in Michigan or New York. I've heard terrible things firsthand from both Michigan and New York, in addition to what's in the news, and no thank you for any of that. New Jersey, too, but that I haven't heard any firsthand accounts. But yeah, it's one of those that they do not understand, or they can't bring themselves to understand, that wealth doesn't just mean what Scrooge McDuck keeps in his cellar, gold coins. Wealth means stuff. Wealth means things that we have and things that we need. And it has to come from somewhere. It's not just there, right? It doesn't just pop into existence. Wealth has to come from somewhere. Oh, hey, here's where we stayed. That was a nice little camp. Wealth has to come from somewhere. And by wealth, we also mean things that you can buy with that money, with your stimulus money. Eventually, if everyone's out of work, we will run out of things to buy. And that's horrific. And that's how, more people will, if this had been kept up for much longer, the full lockdown, more people would have been dying from the lockdown than from the virus. There's a chance it'll turn out that way anyway. If it's even possible to measure the long-term impacts. Before we deal with this,
easy.
Let's get off our horse here, because let me read what WizKid had to say. Here. So WizKid says that's another thing. They don't realize how much people don't want to be coddled from the government at all, and how the whole stimulus shit flies in the face of that. Okay, typo. Yeah, absolutely. People see work as bad. Wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to work? They see being an essential worker as a curse. Not a blessing, right? I see, when I had still a job teaching, because I was teaching online, I saw that as a wonderful, amazing thing while I had it, rather than it being a curse, like a lot of people did. Like a lot of people are, lamenting the fact that they were considered essential workers, and also, worth noting, arbitrarily considered essential workers. Actually, hold on. That's another thing I want to write down. Anyway, so there we go. I was just saying the additional economic impact of arbitrarily deciding who is essential and who is not rather than deciding it on the basis of economic factors, is going to have other problems in the medium to long term. It's going to disrupt supply lines and all that. So let's get this started. Aw, you kidding me? There we go. There we go. Everyone knows not to run across a frozen lake. Alright, that's it. Cool. Now I'm gonna go run across a frozen lake. Can I slip? No, I don't think I can slip. I'm too good at this. WizKid continues, it's funny the people who were essential, even among my more conservative friends, resented it. The ones who weren't, by and large, were bored out of their minds. I definitely did not resent being, quote, essential. I don't even know if I qualified as essential as an educator. I just continued working because I was working online. Right? I had the opportunity to continue working online, which is wonderful. I mean, it's horrible. I hate teaching online comparatively. Compared to in person, it's it's a major step down. This is actually a thing I did I share this on the Facebook page? I know I shared it personally. I don't know if I shared it on the Facebook page though. That I think it's worth saying that a lot of the changes, a lot of the new policies being implemented are, to put it in sort of academic terms, they are contrary to learning outcomes. Right? They're going to be detrimental to our ability to teach. Right? For example, St. Leo's doing this thing where they're splitting some of the classes, and probably all the classes, into Group A and Group B, and only half of the class is actually going to be in the classroom at any given time, while the other half... Is that a wolf? Uh-oh. Yeah, it is. I don't want them going after my horse. Oh, they're just coyotes. Well, okay. Anyway, but yeah, that drove me nuts though. It drives me nuts that so they're going to be splitting the class half and half. There's going to be an A group and a B group, and they're going to be only half in the classroom at any given time, and the other half is going to be in the classroom via Zoom, which is awful, quite frankly. That is not going to be helpful. So I'll be honest, I'm very much hoping that we can start ignoring these rules and regulations as soon as possible. Ideally within a few weeks. The sooner we start ignoring them, the sooner we can go back to acting like civilized human beings and actually interacting with other human beings. That's the big thing that really just bothers me. Is that we are... Oh. Okay, good. That's what I thought. We're kind of uncivilizing ourselves by being so socially distant, if you want to do that. If you want to use the spiel. Microsoft Classroom's a little better. Okay, well, good to know. I might even try that, but everything's set up for Zoom apparently. WizKid says, I'm not going back to university next semester because Flint isn't doing online, which is fine because I need a break anyway, but still online only is awful when you aren't prepared for it. Yeah, sure was. I know. Kevin says, as a healthcare worker, I'm considered essential. I didn't resent the work I did, but I did and do resent all of my co-workers are Karens. I bet there are very few healthcare workers who are not Karens. Group mom, Jennifer is one of them. Not a Karen.
You in there?
They're very
I didn't
rare.
want trouble, but I'm just here to speak with you about Boy Calloway. I'm unarmed.
No, you're not.
Well, King Gallo. I just want to talk about Boy Calloway. Sure. Here's your message.
Got him. Go back to split point. Let's take his pistol. Take his picture. WizKid says generally is a blessing. I'm not feeling like she wants to strangle me through the interrupts. Well, you know, it's understandable. She has a stressful job. She's a hero after all. Everyone knows she is a hero. Flacco's revolver. I'm gonna stick with Midnight Pistol. I actually really like the Mauser. If I can actually find the actual Mauser, it might wind up being better than the Midnight's eventually if you can customize it enough. But we'll see. Eventually, you can't get it yet. But oh, a map. Poisonous Trail. Let's see, what is it? Oh, it's not gonna let me. Okay, fine. I'll look at that later, maybe. Probably not, honestly. I almost never do the actual treasure maps in this game. They're so vague. So incredibly vague. I never really bother with them.
Okay, fella.
Alright. Reinforced equipment from the Trapper. Neat. I like using Granger and Flacco's guns dual wield. They both look so cool. I get that, but I hate dual wielding in this game. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. In part because it's so incredibly unrealistic. If you're, using guns, especially if you're using revolvers, dual wielding is not, especially single action revolvers, is not a thing that you do. It's far better to just have two pistols so you can draw a second one instead of reloading. Oh god. Kevin says, we're getting the mandatory weekly COVID testing, so that's fun. I bet. That's awful. Is it the nose thing? Because I have to take I have to test negative to be allowed back on campus in front of students. I don't know what will happen if I do test positive, because I'm asymptomatic, I know that much. Because of course I am. I'm 28. And the average age of people who died from COVID is over the life expectancy. At least in New York. I'm not sure if that's nationwide, but at least in New York, it's over life expectancy. So that's neat. Yeah, I don't know. I'm annoyed by the whole thing. Again, I'm okay with the whole testing thing. Fine, I guess. I'll deal with it, but if that's the case, if we got to do all that anyway, then we might as well just, put everybody in the same room and actually interact like human beings. That's the biggest thing. Same with the masks. I don't like masks. I'd rather just kind of keep my distance from people and cough in my elbow. The nose swab. Big ant crawling around in the sinus. That sounds like a lot of fun. I can't wait. I mean, it's the same with the masks thing. I would prefer to just kind of stand back from people a little bit and maybe not sneeze on them. That sounds reasonable. Cough into your arm, that kind of thing. Don't spit when you talk. It's not that hard. I get the benefit of wearing a mask if you're sick. I get that. That's fine. I understand. But assuming that you're already sick and you're asymptomatic, and now that we know that asymptomatic carriers are far less likely to pass it on, all of that, the whole mask thing, it depersonalizes people. It puts additional separation between people interacting in society, and it basically atomizes people, which, if I were a bit more conspiratorial, I would say that's the purpose. I don't think that's the purpose. I don't think that's actually the whole point of it. But I do think that it's an added side effect for people who want to control people. Excuse me. Because if you want to control people, separate them from people who they interact with. who they interact with in an ordinary person-to-person kind of way, which is another reason I like doing this kind of thing. So you, the audience, and me can interact with each other in a relatively normal manner. Right? I mean, I know it's online, it's digital, it's typing and all of that, but at the same time, it's better than nothing. Honestly, I'd prefer to, just kind of hang out, and talk over drinks and talk over dinner kind of thing, but that's not allowed. So, and of course we're spread across the country, but what are you going to do? Ooh, jeez. But yeah, I do think there's really, there's an element of this sort of depersonalization, especially to the masks and to the social distancing, that Orwellian term, and all of this, it's ideal for people who want to control people. Kevin says we could just push all the Karens along quicker. That's no way to live, constant fear of sneezing. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's not living, it's surviving. A lot of people would prefer to survive than live. Which we ought to know better. Have an apple.
Okay there, boy?
I know there are a lot of people who've said that. I know Oscar Wilde is probably the most famous, who said that most people only ever survive. To live is very rare.
Help me! My horse died and I'm stuck here.
Okay.
You gotta help me, mister. How about we skip the small talk, eh?
Okay, idiot.
Nice try.
I missed the first shot, though. It was close. You almost got away with my horse. Back here. Yep, here he comes. I was a little bit wary of that guy, but should have been a little warier. Oh well, we're good. Moving on. WizKid says they will use this in the future to justify further repression, and I don't think a lot of people are truly conscious of that, and that scares me. Absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more. This is a test in large part. This, to use a kind of very internet-y term, this is a political shit test. It's in large part to see what people will put up with, and worse, what people will help to enforce. And that's the attitude that is really dangerous. Is this kind of this Karen or Darren-like attitude of helping the enforcement of this kind of thing. And I think there was Aiden Paladin, another YouTuber who does really in-depth, really well-researched psychology videos. She's a PhD clinical psychologist. I think she's a PhD. Kind of analyzed the phenomenon of Karens. And I'll put a link to that as well. I highly recommend her videos. They're incredibly well-researched. They're basically the equivalent of an academic paper. And she talks about the phenomenon of Karen. And this kind of tendency of... she sees it as in the light of entitlement, in particular. And so Karens are primarily psychologically entitled. But I think there's maybe more to it than that. There's also this element of a kind of antisocial aspect of wanting to and being willing to report on one's neighbors. Darren. Kevin asked if Darren. I think I've been calling males Karen as well. That works. I just use Darren, and that's what Aiden Paladin used, so I kind of followed suit. Oh, right. While I'm here, let me quickly craft some more bullets. Oh, hey, let's... Not that. I don't need that. Berries. K-Rens. Kens. There's Ken dolls. Yeah, why not? But yeah, it's let's camp. so I can cook too. But yeah, I think it is a large part of it is this. It's this tendency to be willing to report on other people, right? Because it's not just the entitlement. It's not just the rage you have at people who you feel like have slighted you in some way. That's I think what she focuses on primarily, but it's also this deference to authority and this kind of joining mentality of reporting one's neighbors, kind of siding with the oppressor, if you want. The kind of calling the cops on kids playing basketball. Real example, for instance. WizKid says, Karens are by their nature authoritarian busybodies who will not hesitate to fuck you over to get what they want. Absolutely, they are entitled. Yeah, and there is this... there is a correlation to authoritarianism, or willingness to defer to authoritarians, maybe it's better to say. And that's also something that she looks at in terms of the psychology of it. So, yeah, that's another element of it, definitely. But yeah, it's a bizarre mentality, and it's also bizarre that it has come up recently, and she also speaks to that as well. In part due to social factors, the social factors of Winnie the Flu and all of this, and then also factors of permissive parenting, right, coddling, that kind of thing. The kind of thing that we complain about millennials at being the participation trophy generation. Gen X caught it too, and even boomers got it to an extent. So that kind of permissive parenting is a contributing factor to entitlement. So is, if I remember correctly, certain elements of both the political left and the political right, but it's different elements of each side. I don't remember what they are specifically. But it's one of those that is a fascinating little correlation, which is why Karens also tend to be, stereotypical big brain centrist types. Despite not knowing what any of those things mean, they typically are the sort that will try and stick between. They're not, overly dedicated to one political party or political side or the other. Here we go. Let's do that. Kevin says, what we need is a counter-authoritarian to dictate against the dictations of the dictators. Yeah, maybe. I don't know if it'll work, but maybe. It might work in that it will inspire authoritarian-minded people to kind of go along with it. So there's at least that possibility. So maybe. The libertarians and anarchists need a great moral figurehead leader type to rally behind. And I almost believe that, right? I know it's ironic to say it, but there's something to that, right? The libertarian movement fell apart when Ron Paul retired. Half of it became Bernie Bros, the other half became Trump supporters, and like 6 people are still libertarian, and I'm one of those 6. I will also it's worth noting my political ideology hasn't really changed since like 2012 or 13, probably 13. Yeah, I think 13 is when I really made the final shift into anarcho-capitalism, and I haven't really changed yet in terms of my in terms of my actual political thought. Right, my strictly political thought really hasn't changed in 7 or 8 years. But yeah, that's one of those. It's too warm. Let me. Oh,
come on, pal.
I think I'm right near. I think I am right near where that where the hideout is for the serial killer. So let's go check that out. Yeah, he's right down here. No, I don't. Oh my god, that's so pointless. Alright, whatever. Let's just go down there. Yeah, we need a William Wallace type, or maybe more historically speaking, we need a Robert the Bruce type. Because, I mean, Robert the Bruce was the one who actually got stuff done. William Wallace was the figurehead, but Robert the Bruce actually brought together the Scottish revolutionaries and actually drove out the English, that kind of thing. I'll hang on to that for now. Let's put stuff away. Let's head down this way. Alright. WizKid says, it's just hard to find a leader who appeals to the libertarian mindset. Its permutations, especially considering how diverse of people libertarians actually are. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, libertarians are a very contentious bunch, obviously. Otherwise, I mean, if they weren't so contentious, they probably wouldn't be libertarians. They would be, you know, conventional political thinkers of some sort. Ah, there it is. Here we go. Let's check this out. Oh, there's a cage. That's deeply disturbing. No, it's not. It's an outhouse. Okay. Less disturbing than I thought. There's a padlock, too. Libertarian King, Shepherd of the Cats. Right on, Kevin. Although I will say, Ron Paul managed it. He managed it. He basically rallied a bunch of people to become apolitical anarcho-capitalists. Unfortunately for libertarians who would follow, politically speaking. Dear Mr. Editor, I must say that I am alarmed by the paucity of coverage your august journal has dedicated to the recent killings in the region. The perpetrator of these crimes is clearly a man of great intelligence, power, and no small amount of cunning. He presents a clear and present danger to all readers of your publication, and most probably to the writers of it as well. I would suggest you begin to treat him and his creations with the reverence that they deserve. God help us all. Yours, a concerned citizen. Now that's a serial killer. Another one. What's this? My dear Edmund. A letter from to Edmund from Mother. What has gotten into you of late? Our dinners together, which were once such a pleasure to me, have become a terrible strain. You appear at times tired, distracted, febrile, agitated, and sometimes all those things at once. It was a mistake for you to have ever moved out of home. While I approved of your decision to forego marriage in order to spend more time with me, I did not envisage it would be this kind of company. Maybe a wife is what you need after all. Your kindly neighbor has informed me of your comings and goings from your rooms at all hours of the night. Does this mean there is a close friendship your mother doesn't know about? I hope your taste in companionship has improved these past years, but I shall keep an open mind. I should like an explanation of all this from you presently, your loving and concerned mother. P.S. I hope you're eating and sleeping and taking the laudanum Dr. Finkel's gave you. Uh-oh. That should improve your nerves somewhat. Great. Oh, premium cigarettes. Hold on. Let me... Not that. Let me discard all of these so I can pick up more. Kevin says, I'll trade Trump for Dr. Paul in a heartbeat. Most people would. Honestly, most people would. There's a few dyed-in-the-war authoritarians who wouldn't, but it really is just the authoritarians. I need Kentucky bourbon. What else is in here? Oh, there's more back here. Oh, an eviscerated corpse. Where's the knife? Oh, it's in the corpse. Uh-oh.
Have you come for me? Or was this all nasty surprise? Or maybe it's both. Maybe it is a nasty surprise, even though you knew I was going to be here. Which is it?
God, his eyes are creepy.
You should think about that. Save yourself thinking about what's about to happen. Now, I'm not going to lie. It's not going to be nice and fun. I mean, it'll be fun for me, but it won't be nice for you.
Want more?
All right. Well. Yeah, I really, this is a neat quest. He's actually not easy to find. You have to find all of the, oh, there's a camera? No, we don't need this happening. But yeah, yeah, he's actually pretty hard to find. You have to independently find all of the separate little corpses. A couple of which are really out of the way. The Braithwaite Manor one down in Lemoyne, and then the one that's over there by the one that we just found last. That's in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, you have to find all of those just sort of independently. Like they don't show up on a map. They're not indicated anyhow. You just have to either know where they are or find them. Well, I found them before, so I basically knew where they were. Let's take them to the sheriff. And try not to hit a tree. Yeah? There we go. So let's take him in, our disturbing serial killer, who's on laudanum. Because of course he's deeply psychologically disturbed. Lived with his mother until he moved away and did creepy things at a basement abandoned somewhere. Near town, disturbingly near town. Anyway, so yeah. Let's turn him in. Then I actually do want to talk about this whole D&D thing, because this is hilarious to me. It's also incredibly, profoundly stupid and demonstrates the incredible ignorance of the actual lore that Wizards of the Coast has constructed. And I'll talk some about that, because I think it's really ironic that Wizards doesn't know their own stuff. I understand that people complaining about it wouldn't understand why things are the way they are, and maybe they'd just be mad for silly reasons. But even Wizard does not. Oh, is it? Try resetting. It's not showing any issues for me. It wouldn't hurt to refresh when that happens. I will keep an eye on the stream just to make sure. Yeah. Okay. It also might not be. Yeah. So it may be.
Found that fella you were looking for?
Which fella? Put him down. Put him down.
Yeah. Okay.
Fella been. Well, it ain't nothing nice. A lot of folk disappeared over the past few years. This sick son of a bitch, well, he ain't right in the head.
That's so.
Head over to the cellar of that broke-down shack on the road to the falls. See for yourself.
I love his mustache.
Come on, you.
My name is Edmund Lowry Jr., and you'll remember that, my friend.
I'm sure I shall. You are a frightening fella.
Oh, I'll behave, sir. I'll behave as expected.
Well, you better. And I'll get you a lawyer, don't you worry about that. And you get in that cell, calm as you be.
Get him off me!
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. My lord. What a monster. Well, like I said, have someone head up to his cabin. I think he killed quite a few. Oh, there's a lot of sick bastards out there.
Yeah, Kevin's technique of watching a little bit behind tends to work if there's streaming problems.
Thank you, Sheriff.
So that might work.
Where's a deputy when you need one?
Oh yeah, that is. There's no way that's not a Florida man. Oh yeah, no, I know people like that. It kept freezing when I went downstairs to play a different game. No, now I'm upstairs sweltering. Oh yeah, that's right. People up north don't have air conditioning regularly, do they? Ugh, that's horrifying. Can't imagine what that must be like. I will say one nice thing about living in the South is that air conditioning, central air, is the norm. No one does not have central air here. Unlike up north, and unlike that strange, bizarre, and terrible place, England. All right, now, finally, let's go to Black Bell. All right. Another long ride, but let's do it. Yeah, Florida's really weird. I'm kidding. I don't actually know a creepy serial killer. No, I do know people who I know some Florida people who I would not be all that surprised to find out that they had either started a cult or were secretly murdering people. I did know a guy in middle school who was later arrested on terrorism charges for stockpiling weapons and had like terrorist training videos and things. I don't actually think he was. I don't know if he was charged, but I know he was arrested. It was when we were both in high school. I kind of lost track of him at the time.
Look who we found! Bury him, boys!
Ah, for Christ's sake! All right. I killed that guy. What the hell? Jesus, there's more of them.
God damn it! Too damn close. You're about to need your
Okay. WizKid says I have AC, but it doesn't help in my room at the top of the stairs that much. See, that's the other thing that we tend to have in Florida is nicely functioning central air. That said, WizKid, you know this. During our D&D game a couple weeks ago, I missed like half of it. I missed out co-DMing like half of it because I was outside fixing the air conditioner. Because that's a real priority down in these parts. Oh, hey, this guy. Yeah.
Help a blind man.
Okay, sure.
I see the morrows, and see them clearly, sir. Even when all reason is lost and all truth has become lie, you will stand firm. For loyalty is both your saving and your curse.
Well, okay then. Thank you, I guess.
Damn, that's pretty darn true. But with the whole loyalty to Dutch thing.
Please.
Arthur's pretty much loyal until he's forced not to be. He has no other option. And even then, he winds up being loyal to the gang, even if not loyal to everybody in it. Because there's, irresolvable conflict, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's I love that guy. He's spot on. Anyway, so let's go see about Black Bell all the way down in the swamp. So, what I was talking about was, while we were riding, I wanted to talk about this new decision by Wizards of the Coast to remove intrinsically evil races, or naturally evil races. So orcs no longer have a racial alignment, drow no longer have a racial alignment, that kind of thing. Out of concerns for generally real-world racism, right, if we're going to put it that way. So, part of what strikes me about this as weird, it's funny, the article I shared about this on my private page, I didn't share this on the Facebook page, but privately I shared an article about this earlier. Yeah, it is, actually I think this is sunrise. I think it's sunrise, because it was just nighttime. But yeah, I shared an article about it, and it's ironic. The featured image they used in the article was the title of the Eberron, the source book for Eberron, Rising from the Last War. Eberron is a relatively new campaign setting that started in 2004. It was part of a something like a player submission contest, or like DM submission contest, and it was chosen to become an official D&D setting in 3rd edition in 2004. And the interesting thing about Eberron, or there's a few interesting things about Eberron. First of all is the sort of steampunk aesthetic, which is really cool. Second of all is there is one major metropolitan city on the big continent and that sort of thing, which is also really cool. There's a lot of really high magic kind of thing, and very technological kind of magic, that kind of thing. Really neat, cool setting aesthetically. But the relevant part is that in the sort of cosmology of D&D, how it works is the different worlds all coexist, like Forgotten Realms. It's called Realm Space. So this is the Faerun. This is where most of the current storylines take place, in Forgotten Realms. It's kind of the current favored one that you're probably the most familiar with. If you're familiar with D&D, you're probably familiar with Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
Forgotten Realms is one world. It's a crystal sphere. Basically, it's a solar system, and it's separated from other worlds in the kind of multiverse of D&D. There are different solar systems in the Phlogiston. We use kind of a pseudo medieval metaphysical cosmology, which is neat. But apparently, all these worlds coexist. Right. So Eberron exists, right, separately from the Forgotten Realms. It's its own separate thing. And one of the little quirks about Eberron is that it is particularly isolated, including it being isolated from deities. It's isolated from the deities of other realms. What this means is that deities like Grumsh, the chief god of the orcs, who is evil, who created the orcs and did formed them and their society along lines of chaos and conquest. Grumsh doesn't exist in Eberron. Similarly, you have Lolth, the Spider Queen, who is the goddess of the Drow, the Dark Elves. She doesn't exist in Eberron. The Elven gods don't exist in Eberron. They can't access it. They are in their own separate worlds. They never get to Eberron, nothing like this. And so what we have Eberron being its own separate little nice thing. What this implies is that all of the otherwise monstrous races, and that includes orcs and goblins and even things like bugbears, they don't have the same alignment restrictions in Eberron that they do in other settings.
Easy, whoa.
So what's weird about this, what's cool about this, really, is that what this means is that you can have your own, you can have this setting, this Eberron setting, where monstrous races, or otherwise intrinsically evil races like Drow, like Dark Elves, are not intrinsically evil because they don't have this connection to their evil deities. So they are just kind of people, like any other people. Sound familiar? Because it should. It sounds like what they are trying to do now with all of their settings. Which is ridiculous, because why would they do that? They already have a setting that the whole gimmick is that things are set up like this, right? The whole setting is that. That's the whole point of Eberron as a campaign setting, as a world, is that the various monstrous and evil races are just people, right? They're people with different tribal histories and social histories and different societies and stuff. Like they're halflings ride dinosaurs, which is cool. It's completely ridiculous, but it's cool. Let's do that. There we go. It's completely absurd and almost hilariously absurd. But the point is that it is a setting where this is already the rule. This is already how things work. But for some reason, Wizards of the Coast forgot about that and decided that that needs to be the case everywhere, for whatever reason. Now further, it's really quite silly that they would object to races being intrinsically evil based on the origin of those races. I'll talk about this after we talk to Black Bell, because this is a great sequence.
You there? Oh, hello?
You a bounty hunter?
Well, not right now, I ain't. You Black Bell? I'd like to talk to you about your Wild West days.
I don't care much for reminiscing. You got any friends as bounty hunters?
None that spring to mind.
Well, then you done led them boys here and you none the wiser.
Ah, those bounty hunters.
Maybe my luck had run out sooner.
Well, get inside. I'll tell them you're gone.
Oh, no. I ain't hiding from them scalp hunters. Not running from them neither. And fighting? Yeah, if it's just me against them, that'd be a waste of time and nitroglycerin.
Well, let me know what I can do.
You want that Wild West story, don't you?
Yes, I do.
All right. Get up here quick. Now when I give you the word, hit that. Whole place is wired.
Black Bell!
God, I love her.
I got a contract here for your life or your liberty. We'd sooner it be liberty.
That's mighty reasonable, mister. Come here, let me take a look at it. Come on. Oh, come on. Stop just there. Now.
Oh my gosh. I love this one.
Hey, look! They're trying to flank us!
Where? Oh.
Hit that plunger! You want to see them fly! Stop right there! What you do? Got I think I got some of your friend
Jesus.
on my face! This ain't the time to save your bullets!
Lady, I can't see you much in need of my help.
Oh, sugar, that's sweet! You're lucky I won't wear it out! They coming back round the front! Ooh, I was expecting to fight all right! They brought a Gatling gun! Hey, take out the boy on the back of that truck! It ain't over yet! I guess their friends heard off.
There we go. Jesus, that took too long. Alright. This lady is insane. I love it.
Alright, I can breathe again! There's gonna be some price on me when all this is done.
Price don't matter if it's idiots chasing it.
Well, at a certain price, you don't get idiots. That boy's gonna get off the Gatling gun.
Damn it. No, you don't.
Here we go again.
Get down. anymore. Whew. Wait, what? Oh.
Looking forward to watching you.
Watching you what?
Woo! Is that the last of them?
Yeah. You got them scalp hunters off your back.
For now.
For now. So, you gonna tell me about your Wild West days? Running with Jim Boy Calloway?
Little boy Calloway? The only running he did was away from a fight. And that's about the end of it.
Well, the man's apparently a famous gunslinger.
Yeah, so they say. But, don't get what's famous confused with what's true. The ones of us that lived that life, we was too busy being scared for our scalp to talk to no newspaper writers or dime novel men.
Well, what were they like then? Those days they all talk about.
Same as now, I guess. Only longer ago.
All right. I'm gonna need your picture, too, if it ain't a trouble.
No, sir, no trouble at all. Can't be worse than those awful drawings on the wanted posters.
Oh, great. Well, you stand over there and let me get this thing ready.
Ready? How do you want me? Like this?
Yeah, that's good. That's perfect.
Okay, I got it.
Then I guess I'll be on my way.
There. Well, thank you, Mrs. Bell. You gonna be all right?
Oh, been running for 20 years. Suppose I'll be running till I drop. Just the way it is.
Yeah. Good luck.
Gotta love her. She's so fantastic. Alright. So while we're looting, because there's a lot of looting to be done, because oh boy, did we kill a bunch of folks. So WizKid said, it just shows how infested with SJW so many things in pop culture are nowadays. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And I mean, it's not even just this. It's not even just SJWs in pop culture kind of thing. I mean, yeah, there's the whole. There's everything involved with things like Gamergate, and I mean, cool, but it's not what I wanted to loot the bodies, but I can't do that. Okay, fine. Just loot these. Anyway, but yeah, it isn't just that. There's also just kind of a. It's a tendency in nerd culture, right? in any kind of atypical subculture. Well, Kevin points out the ruination of Star Wars, for example. Yeah, I think though a lot of that, I will say, I'm less prone to blame sort of SJWism for the ruination of Star Wars. Sure, Kathleen Kennedy has her political angle. Maybe that's fine. And that's probably what kind of made her go off the rails a bit. But I think there's more to it than that. And I can talk about what I think the problems with Star Wars are from a very non-expert but long-time fan perspective. But I think in general, in sort of nerd culture, in subcultures which have a history of being outside the mainstream, what you get is a collection of people who are outside the mainstream or outside the norm. And so what that winds up meaning is you get a bunch of I mean, no offense to myself and most of the people I associate with, but a bunch of weirdos. In a lot of cases, what that winds up meaning is I don't know, for lack of a better term, degenerates. You know, and I don't like to describe people that way, but it is the clearest way I can describe people of the sort that I'm talking about. To encapsulate it, the way I like to kind of barely jokingly say it is that if I'm looking for a D&D group, I'm just as likely to be propositioned for an orgy as I am to be propositioned to join a D&D group among typical, nerd crowds, among typical D&D crowds. People who are into that sort of thing are just as likely to be into all manner of I mean, moral degeneracy, if you want. You know, so it's a matter of people who are of sort of outcast culture attracting outcasts. Who would have thought? It's just that both of those sorts of things are entering the mainstream, and I'm not a fan, quite frankly. I mean, I'm a fan of D&D and such entering the mainstream, but what comes with that is strange, and it's not my favorite trend. It's not my favorite trend. But yeah, I think it is. I think it's a genuine big problem. Here is. Oh boy. So let's check this out. But yeah, I do think that is a Turnfield. No. Split point. Actually, no. There's gators out here. I'm gonna get my shotgun just for safety's sake. Let's clean this. But yeah, I do think that that nerd culture has a big problem with this sort of thing. It has a very big problem with being with having a lot of overlap with the cultural left, let's say. And I guess you know what I mean by that. Yeah.
Mr. Morgan.
How are you?
Well, sir.
What are you working on?
Do you know anything about alligators?
Only the basics. Avoid them wherever possible.
Well, did you know that in the last 50 years, we've killed 90%?
You say that like it makes you sad.
They're beautiful creatures.
Let's see how you speak when one of them's got you in a death row.
Yes, I will make some creature a very happy lunch one of these days.
Let's try and avoid that from happening today. When you stay there, you'll get a great shot, then you'll get eaten.
What a way to go.
Why don't we take this boat out, and I'll protect you. Come on, get in the boat, he'll be fine.
Well, if you really think that's necessary.
You carry on shooting from that bank, you're gonna wish them wolves had eaten you.
Really?
Yes. The 10% who survived, they're the nasty ones.
WizKid says those crowds always run together by nature.
I saw a movement to the north of us.
It's why I despise how center-right and religious I am. I always make friends with liberal, atheist agnostics, despite myself. I used to. I've mentioned before. I used to LARP, live action roleplay.
Don't get too close. You'll scare them away.
And kind of those are incredibly toxic cultures, from what I've found. My wife can tell the stories better than I can. That's actually where I met her. But there's a lot of that kind of.
Last year they brought 10,000 skins out of the swamps of Lemoyne alone.
Like I said, they're more likely to proposition you for an orgy than to play the
that little beach.
It's that sort of thing.
We're in luck. An alligator won't be far away.
Saving alligators, but you don't mind that pork chop getting butchered.
Pork chop isn't in danger of extinction.
Let's aim it at these pigs so we can get a nice, good shot when getting eaten. Yeah, there we go. Nice catch.
Got it. Quick, I must get this shot. We caught him. In the middle of his dinner. This is history-making, truly. Nature, in all its glory and cruelty.
Could have been you if you stayed on that bank where I found you.
Don't. Okay. So,
now
it's southwest or due west. You know, in the season, there are more alligator hunters down here than alligators.
Maybe you can take a photograph of one of them, then.
Very droll. There was even a tour company that let excursionists shoot from the deck of a paddle steamer. Chugged up the waterways and churned whole bayous into mud. Thankfully, the state legislature put a stop.
A paddle steamer, huh? Now, why didn't we think of that?
WizKid says the ruination of Avatar too. I love that show so much, and yet online, instead of intelligent discussions on the philosophy of the show, you get these idiots who don't know the lore making everyone gay. Yeah.
17 feet,
the shipper community. You know?
21 feet with a 5-foot head.
That aside, even I even think that
There's
everyone talks about this, but the
20-foot
transition
gators here, and us
between
two idiots are sitting in a
The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra is a major downgrade in world building and storytelling quality, character building, and all of that.
ain't ashamed of this
And it's not exclusively. I mean, again, it's not even exclusively the sort of leftism or cultural leftism or SJWism or whatever you want to call it, right? It's just a degradation of actual story quality, and it seems to be in large part because of the focus on, I can't say political issues, but because the original show was definitely political. It was very political. But it was more focused on its own politics rather than our politics, if that makes sense. You know, but yeah, that was a major, I think, part of the major problem with Legend of Korra, and why it largely lost a lot of the fan base.
Oh, no, he's gone. Can you stop the boat just there, off the island?
Great.
Sure. If we stop too long, locals are gonna start getting curious.
Just there, please. So I'm facing the landmass. Now look, there's an alligator back in those palms. Could you run in there and coax him out?
Coax him?
Oh, this is such a bad idea.
Try something. If I could take that fellow's likeness, it might just save him from the taxidermist.
Fine. But maybe I want this monster stuffed and on display.
That's the spirit. Out you go then. Get him to notice you, and then turn tail and run.
I don't like.
I'm gonna have a snack. Probably the last one ever.
Yes. Not one bit.
Yeah, I see him.
Oh, he's awake. Come on, Gator.
Oh god. Okay, here he comes.
I hope you're slow.
Quick, jump in the boat.
Okay. I'm up in my chest. Oh gosh. No.
Got him. What a specimen.
Okay, there we go.
Nearly got him eating me.
I don't know what I'd do without you, sir.
Do not try this at home.
Head southeast, good man. We have a final spot to check.
Definitely don't try that at home. I'm an expert, trust me. Don't do that. WizKid says, the thing I hate the most about Korra is how it went from the rich Asiatic culture full of its own history to the 1920s for absolutely no reason, other than one of the creators like the time period. Yeah, Brian. Brian Kaditzko? Is that his name? I'll take your word for it. I don't remember. I know it's Mike and Brian, that's all. Because I greatly admire their story writing from the original series. Also, they did have another writer. They didn't bring back for Korra. I forget who it was, but yeah, that was a big difference. But yeah, the whole 1920s aesthetic, I get the whole technological advancement, but it wasn't nearly as organic as it was in the original series, and this is kind of going way off the road, but I love the world building, the technological world building of, like, Earth Nation using earthbending for all of their technology. Fire Nation being the ones who had the steam technology. It makes perfect sense. Arab nomads making temples that are only accessible by air. All of that, every bit of technological world building makes perfect sense in the original show.
That's a likely spot for one.
And the only even slightly relevant bit in Korra was the whole, like, firebenders can use lightning to power the grid kind of thing. But even that is weird because originally lightning bending was a hugely specialized thing that only very powerful firebenders could master. Particularly, royal family.
Take us back where we began.
Because there's a whole thing about that.
I hope you got something worth printing.
The Fire Nation's royal family was basically bred to be incredibly powerful firebenders going back generations. So of course they were able to master lightning.
Yes. Maybe that's not a bad thing.
Aaron Hatz, thank you, WizKid, was the reason Avatar was so well written. They didn't bring him back on the show, and the show just felt shallow with time. Yeah, I agree.
Usually we wait until after they're dead.
Well, I hope we've changed.
Me too.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
That should do it.
Yes.
These pictures you're taking,
Yes.
they gonna be any good?
I certainly hope so. Though I doubt it. The subject is magnificent, the backdrop jaw-dropping, but the agent of beauty is a talentless fool. Although maybe I'll strike a few lucky shots.
You sure do make me laugh that way you talk about yourself, Mr. Mason.
Well, I'm good for laughing at, if nothing else.
I didn't mean it like that.
I know. Still, I feel such a fool round you, sir.
Don't worry about it.
Well, I foresaw many an ignominious future for myself, but never damsel in distress.
Well, good luck, Mr. Mason.
Thank you, and to you too, sir.
Try and stay out of trouble.
I shall certainly try.
All right. That's about... I think that's all of our side quests, is it? That might be all of our side quests. Well, let's go to... Now, this will take a while, so let's head back towards camp for right now. I know a guy in California who looks exactly like Mr. Mason, Kevin says. Cool. I like Mr. Mason. He's such a cool guy. He's got that wonder at things that I really admire in people. It's actually like my favorite part about... It's my favorite aspect of the character of the Doctor from Doctor Who is that wonder at creation kind of thing. I got a frog. I kicked it to death. It's also what I love about people like scholars like Jeffrey Tucker, who I've mentioned and talked about before on the stream, on a previous Red Dead stream. He's got this wonder at the way things are and the way things work about the world. It's really, it's just infectious. Snapping turtles. WizKid says, honestly, the fandom phenomenon really has merit as a field of study, only because of all the rampant idolization and tendency to miss the point of the thing they love so much. Yeah, I think so. There's also there's another neat phenomenon. I mentioned Aiden Paladin, the YouTube psychologist, a YouTube psychologist. She studies this phenomenon as well and has done a lot of research on parasocial relationships as it relates to fandoms and how those parasocial relationships can be constructed and then broken. And she kind of wove it into a criticism of The Last Jedi and why fans had such a visceral reaction to Luke Skywalker's character in The Last Jedi. It's a break in a parasocial relationship. That's really her thesis on the matter. And I think that's a really solid point. Parasocial relationships are relationships with either fictional characters or people who... They're basically fictional relationships that we construct through a familiarity at a distance, let's say. Right? Does that make sense? Like our relationship we construct to a fictional character, or hell, to a content creator on YouTube who doesn't actually know us. But we construct this relationship in our minds, even if there is no such relationship in reality. Wait, what? Is someone dying back here? I just heard somebody. How was that? How was that? How was that? Oh, is this Snakebite Man?
Please. I need medicine.
Damn. What happened to you? Here.
WizKid says also the absurd amount of cults that emerge out of them regularly.
It was like a gunshot.
Oh,
I'll avoid that.
the one with the pink flowers? Tiny little bastard. Steer clear. Thanks, mister. I owe you my life.
So why are you wandering through the bush,
things you learn the
eating
hard way.
stuff off the ground?
Yeah.
Shouldn't do that.
You can say that again.
Well, hold on now. Kevin says Palpatine didn't essentially change, and so for me, that was the best part of Rise of Skywalker. I don't know. He had some pretty phenomenal changes there. Change in technique, change in intelligence. His plan was very, very dumb compared to his previous plans. So that's a thing. So I don't know. It's still Ian McDermott, and he's still hammy. He's still like pure, delicious ham. So there's at least that. It is still the overacting wonder that is Palpatine. The chewing every bit of scenery he can possibly find, which is wonderful, but at the same time, the character's plans didn't quite make sense. And again, okay, so this actually, we're saying, this speaks to what I think went primarily wrong with the Star Wars, particularly the sequel trilogy, but Star Wars in general under the management of Disney. And it's the lack of planning, the lack of pre-planning, especially. And my biggest point of comparison is Marvel. The contemporary comparison. I mean, you can compare it even to Lucas's plans, right? So the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy were more or less planned, not together, but after Episode 4. They were more or less planned together, more or less. So 5 and 6 were planned together. And then, of course, the prequel trilogy were all planned as a unit, and they were designed very specifically to reflect the original trilogy in a very particular sort of way. And if you look at Marvel, right, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, for all the faults that it might have, one of the chief benefits of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is its cohesiveness. The whole thing coheres together so very nicely.
No, this ain't what we asked for at all. What is this, a joke? You trying to pump?
All right, let's just shoot all these.
I've had enough of this. Both of you get your hands up now.
Thanks, Ranger.
Sorry about your friend. I'm not going to loot the stranger that gives you dishonor, but I am going to loot the Lemoyne Raiders. WizKid says, yeah, but him, talking about Palpatine, I take it, but him just being there in general flies in the face of the whole goddamn franchise, and I absolutely hate it. Careful, because what Kevin said, deep in the old canon, so a lot of elements of Palpatine were familiar, even if rushed and shoddily put together. Yeah, the whole coming back in a clone body, the whole essence transfer, the whole using Luke in the old extended universe, but using a Jedi to bring himself back and to retake over the galaxy with a new fleet constructed in, I guess, the unknown regions now instead of the deep core, but whatever, same kind of deal. All this is very familiar. J.J. Abrams took a lot of cues from the old EU. And so I don't object to Palpatine coming back. I do kind of object to it not being Anakin, or even a Skywalker, who in any way finishes him. It kind of undermines Anakin's character development from the prequel trilogy, which I can kind of forgive the EU for, because a lot of Palpatine's return material from the EU came out before the prequels, so we didn't know anything about the whole the whole prophecy and all that, the prophecy of the Chosen One and that kind of thing. But yeah, old canon, what is now Legends canon, or want to call it the extended universe, whatever. There was a lot of that. There's a lot of that kind of thing. It's not like Palpatine coming back was out of nowhere. He came back twice in the old extended universe.
Is fine.
If it ain't Sheriff Morgan.
I am probably planning on a video about Force Ghosts, light side versus dark side, and kind of relating it to some neat Christian theology. So that'll be cool. No.
Need money.
Yeah.
Lots of money.
Let's purchase that. Can afford it.
To work.
Buy Dutch a nice new setup. But yeah, so that's one thing. That's one thing that's one complaint that falls flat for me. Alright, let's get us a map. I like that. That basically means fast travel. Nice. Additional grooming supplies. I don't know what that means, but we'll check it out. Improve the rest of the camp. Let's do it. We have enough money. I shouldn't be spending all this, but whatever. So yeah, all of that. But the big issue, like I said, is the planning. Right? It's that there was very clearly no single collected vision. That's enough. There were no single collected vision of everything. You know, there was no singular plan of the whole series, like there very clearly was of Marvel phases 1, 2, and 3, all from the start. Let's give. How about we give? Let's give all these.
Hey, Arthur.
Let's do that. But yeah, so that's the thing, right? So that the big problem I have, like I said, the biggest problem I have isn't really that. It's not that. It's not with anything in particular that with any of the movies really, because I think they're neat, they're fun. If nothing else, they're a lot of fun. The new ones. The biggest issue is that they don't cohere together as a series, like at all. Let's go with, how about we do that? That looks nice. We'll leave the chin. Leave the mustache growing to its maximum length. And that'll do. But I think, yeah, like I said, the biggest problem is that there was no coherent plan where the whole series was planned out like Marvel was. Like the MCU, phases 1, 2, and 3 were all planned out meticulously from the start. Right? Now, there were little nuances that changed, and things changed here or there. And that's fine. Not a big deal, but...
We're gonna run out of meat here soon if we're not careful.
You're pathetic. You're a pathetic man, John Marston.
Good, we really needed this.
I know. You're welcome. Alright, that'll work.
Good job, Mr. Morgan.
Alright. Oh, like the separate... Yeah, so, yeah, this is actually a good point. So Kevin brings up how... it's neat how the Sith are usually bound to something, whereas Jedi tend to be free in the Force, in spectral existence. Yeah, very much so. And even how, immortality through the dark side is always limited, and it is always seen as incredibly unnatural, and it never lasts. It is always very limited in various ways. I'm going to head to the fence and then probably call it, and actually it's midnight, we should probably call it here. So I'll just finish my rant about Star Wars really quick. So, and I will pick up this other thing that I was mentioning later. This idea of Force ghosts and immortality through the Force and all that stuff. But yeah, my big issue is that there was very clearly no cohesive, coherent plan between the writers of the sequel trilogy. It was passed around back and forth. There was obviously no overarching plan. There wasn't a lot dropped in. There weren't a lot of plot hooks at the beginning that then pay off later, that kind of thing. And I noticed this problem when The Force Awakens came out. And I was saying, look, if the sequel trilogy is going to have a problem, it's going to be this. Because The Force Awakens by itself was very good. I really did like it. I even kind of liked The Last Jedi by itself, taken as its own individual movie. But as part of a trilogy, as part of the saga, it doesn't work. And same goes for Rise of Skywalker. I mean, Rise of Skywalker has its own problems, probably maybe even more than The Last Jedi, but as part of the saga, it just does not work. It does not fit with everything else. It doesn't fit thematically. The changes that go in are out of nowhere. Abrams spends most of the runtime undoing what Rian Johnson did in The Last Jedi, which I take immense pleasure at because I don't like what Rian Johnson did in The Last Jedi. But at the same time, that means that the story doesn't get to happen, you know. And I think that's the biggest problem. That's the biggest issue I have with the sequel trilogy, is its lack of coherent planning. I mean, nothing gets organized in a coherent way, and it isn't planned out. The thing doesn't mesh together like the prequels did. For all the faults in the individual movies and the prequels, it is a phenomenal trilogy. It is a wonderful, cohesive story that all fits wonderfully together. Anyway, it is after midnight, so I think it's about time we called it. So I'm going to wish everybody a very good night. And let me read the last couple of comments from WizKid before we head out. So I just thought it was cool dark side ghosts exist to begin with, because it makes total sense that they would only live on through attachment like that. Yeah, so they're very limited, they're very restricted, right? And any attempts at immortality are unnatural, and they wind up coming off as unnatural through cloning, through binding oneself to something in particular, that kind of attachment, that kind of thing. So yeah, very much so. So it's really hard for me to know how to feel about The Last Jedi. And I refuse to give them any more money to view it, to really figure out how I should feel about it. You know, there are ways of viewing it without giving them money for it. I'm just saying. Not that I would directly advocate for such things. But if you saw my stream last night, you know how I feel about intellectual property and copyright. Just a thought. Anyway, glad to be entertaining, glad to be helpful, glad to have hopefully some interesting and deep chats on these on both frivolous and interesting topics. And with that, like I said, I've mentioned before as well, I'm working on, and I should be able to finish up the last 2 or 3 videos in the current reading group, the reading group series for SCOTUS, and then we'll be moving on to the next reading group, which will be William Kavanaugh's The Myth of Religious Violence. So that's going to come up next. Expect those and some other things in the next couple of weeks. But otherwise, I will see everybody on the next stream. So have a good night, everybody. Thanks for coming by.